everybody, Dan Illman here with the DRF race of the day for Saturday, December the 30th. It's race number 10 at Gulfstream Park, one of 3 graded stakes races on the card. This is the Harlan's Holiday at 1.16 miles on the main track. Let's take a look at this field. It's a good competitive grouping in the Harlan's Holiday, a race that could serve as a local prep for the Pegasus World Cup down the road. You have several horses in this race with legitimate credentials, as well as several horses that seem like up-and-comers in this division. I want to take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for this race. New York Traffic, the number 2, has run well, obviously, in longer distances. He was second in the Haskell Invitational as a 3-year-old at 2020. He's sort of been rejuvenated as a sprinter in his last few starts, but I think 1.16 miles at Gulfstream with the short stretch could work to his advantage. I would expect him to be close to the pace. I think Octane is going to show a lot of speed. He pressed the fractions last time out, but he could be at his best when he's up close to the lead. I think Gasoline has a chance to show some speed, the number 9. Steel Sunshine, the 10, also has a little bit of early lick. But we'll start our analysis with the number 1, W Nell, and I really love the way Danny Gargan has handled W Nell. This was a very talented 2-year-old. He won the Remsen, and he was firmly on the early Kentucky Derby trail in 2023. But after bombing in both the Sam F. Davis and the Florida Derby, Gargan gave him plenty of time to recover, and he returned off a layoff at a pretty demanding 1.125 distance at Keeneland in this second-level allowance race, and this was the old W Nell, the W Nell that we saw as a 2-year-old. He showed a lot more early pace. He got close to the lead, and he was very game to beat a good horse. That runner-up would come back to win a second-level allowance race at Churchill Downs with a 95 Beyer speed figure. Have to like this inside post position with a short run into the first turn, and W Nell has the tactical speed to sort of tuck in behind the leaders. This is a horse that I think is slowly getting back into form. He always has had a good amount of potential, and perhaps we'll see that potential realized on Saturday. The number 2 is New York Traffic, and he's closing in on $1 million in lifetime earnings. I mentioned he was second in the Haskell as a 3-year-old. This New York bred has been placed in some really nice spots recently by trainer Safi Joseph. He won a stakes race at Penn National. He's been running competitively in some New York bred races, including this start last time out, the Hudson Stakes at the Belmont at the Big A meet over a muddy track. Now, this was a very fast pace, and New York Traffic was outrun in the early portion. He swung to the outside and is going to run a solid second. Now he's going to stretch back out to 1.16 miles. I still have some reservations whether at this point in his career New York Traffic is going to be as effective going 2 turns, but his credentials are obvious on paper. He's run some bang-up races. He has good speed. He's run well at Gulfstream in the past, and is a very logical contender. Grand Aspen is the number 3. This is a lightly raced 4-year-old coming off of a win at Churchill Downs last time out. He got up close to the pace, and he was able to sprint on home. By far a career best performance for Grand Aspen, earning a 94 Beyer speed figure. And maybe Todd Pletcher's finally figured out Grand Aspen. Perhaps the light bulb has come on. That being said, that last race was an off-the-turf affair, so it looks to me like he's taking a double jump up in class while turning back to 1.16 miles. I think he's going to be rated a little bit farther off the pace this time around, and we'll see how he does against tougher competition. The number 4 is Blue Devil, and this horse really came to form over the summer at Saratoga, winning a couple of races and then running a bang-up 3rd in the Lucas Classic. I thought all in all in the Lucas Classic he had a pretty good trip. He was able to split horses nearer to the inside, turning for home. He finished a solid 3rd along the rail while not threatening for the win, but he earned a respectable 96 Beyer speed figure. Last time out in the Clark, he finished an okay 4th, passing some tired horses in the stretch. I wonder where his speed has gone. Blue Devil used to show a good amount of early speed in his races. He's been rated in his last couple. Maybe he can get a little bit closer to the pace and to the always capable Junior Alvarado. Signatur is up next, and this is a son of Tappet trained by Shug McGahee. This is a horse who sold for $1.7 million as a 2-year-old in training, and like many Shug McGahee trained runners, He is slowly improving with added distance and, more importantly, added maturity. He's won 2 in a row in New York, including this race, a second level allowance going 1 1/8 at Aqueduct. There was not a lot of pace on in this race. Signatur made a smooth 3-wide bid on the second turn to take over command, and once he was in front, he stayed about his business. He's now popped career best buyers in his last 2 starts. I still think there's upside, and 1 1/16 seems like it's within his wheelhouse. If there's some pace in this race, expect the 5 Signatur to come with a strong late run. Conor, the number 6, is a horse that's certainly capable. Let's take a look at his most recent start. This is the Grade 2 Fayette. During the Keeneland Fall meet, he got a good setup in this race. This pace was hot. He split horses a half-mile out, made a 4-wide bid on the turn, and he's just going to grind this thing out to win in game fashion. The 7th place finisher came back to win the Grade 2 Clark with a 102 Beyer speed figure. Now, while he's run well at 1 1/16 in the past, I wonder if Conor is slightly more effective at slightly longer distances, like the 1 1/8 of the Fayette. Conor is a horse that's going to need a little bit of pace. He's done some good work at Gulfstream Park in the past, and he's just rock solid. But he's a horse that could use pace and trip luck, and maybe a little bit more ground. Octane is the number 7, and I really liked what I saw from Octane last time out. First time for this barn. Let's watch this race. This is a restricted stakes race going a 1-turn mile, and Octane just prompted the pace on the outside. He was 4 wide after a half-mile, was able to get to the front in the stretch without much fuss, and he kept on going. A 97 Beyer speed figure for a horse that has run some fast races at Gulfstream Park in the past. Now, while Conor is the kind of horse that might appreciate 1 1/8, I wonder if Octane's going to be at his best at this 2-turn 1 1/16. Thus far, his best races have come going a 1-turn mile. He should be forwardly placed under Edgard Zayas. The 8 is Miles D, and when he was trained by Chad Brown, Chad treated him like a really nice horse. He ran him in the Travers in only his 4th lifetime start, and he finished a pretty good 3rd that day. He went on to win the Discovery as a 3-year-old, but since then, not a lot's gone right for Miles D. He only started once at the age of 4, obviously had some physical issues. He sold for $130,000 over the summer and made his first start for the New Connections in the Delta Mile. And this was a pretty good performance considering it produced 2 next out winners. Miles D is going to run 2nd in this race. The winner of this race is one of the better Louisiana breds around. That horse came back to win a state-bred stakes race at the fairgrounds with a 97 Beyer and his 10 for 13 lifetime. Considering it was Miles D's first start off a lengthy layoff and that he has run well at these longer distances, I think he could project some improvement and he might fall through the cracks from a wagering standpoint. Gasoline popped a big Beyer speed figure 2 starts back, a 101 in a high-level allowance race going this distance at Churchill Downs. He sat off the pace, he pounced, and he was much the best, and that start earned him a run in the Grade 2 Clark, and he took a lot of money in that race. He was bet down to 7-2, and he just didn't really fire his best shot in his stakes debut. He draws outside, but he also picks up Arad Ortiz, who can get this horse into a decent position. He has the tactical speed to sort of extricate himself from this post and avoid being hung out too wide going into the first turn. Still a horse that needs to prove his mettle against stakes competition. The 10 is Steel Sunshine. Let's watch Steel Sunshine's last race. Allowance effort going a 1-turn mile at Gulfstream. This is back in the middle of October. This is just a nice professional effort. This is how an odds-on favorite is supposed to win, sitting off the pace, blasting clear once produced. And this is a horse that's done very good work at Gulfstream Park in the past. He's run well at a variety of different distances. Post 10, not the easiest at this 1 1/16 distance. Paco Lopez is going to pick up the mount. But Steel Sunshine, another horse, he's very solid. I do wonder if he's slightly better at sort of a 1-turn 7 furlongs or a mile, but I don't think the 1 1/16 is completely out of his element. Lure Him In is the number 11. He's going to complete this field. Let's watch his last race. He was entered for the 62.5 tag in his first start off the Herman Walensky claim, and he looked pretty good winning. He's down on the inside. Things worked out from a trip standpoint, and he scored with a 92 Beyer speed figure. I liked that he overcame a race that didn't have a lot of pace, and he was able to rally into it, but he did get a very good trip, and I'm not sure that trip is available to him as he steps up in class, breaking from a very tough outside post position. Before we get to my top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time for the Harlan's holiday. I think Signatur is coming into his own for Shug McGahee. I liked his last two races in New York, races where he overcame slow race flows with a nice late rally. This is a horse they've always thought a lot of. Big purchase price, big pedigree, big connections, and I think if he gets some pace, he's going to make some late noise. 5, 2, 7, and 4 for me in the Harlan's Holiday could be a precursor to the Pegasus World Cup.